Hello everyone, welcome to iFashi. Today's tutorial will be teaching us how to draft this beautiful dress. It has gathers on the down part of the dress, so the part we are going to be focusing on this video is the upper part, from the shoulder to the beginning of the gathers. So if this is something you're interested in, let's get right into it. So here's my pattern paper. I've gone ahead to mark out my shoulder line and then the zipper allowance. Kindly ignore the zipper allowance because I thought I'll be using this same paper to draft my back. That's why I removed the zipper. So we're going to be taking all our measurements from the shoulder downwards. From my shoulder, I'm going to take my bust point, my under bust, and the front waistline. From my shoulder to my bust line is 10 inches, and then from my shoulder to my under bust is 13 inches, and lastly my waistline, from my shoulder to my waistline is 17 inches. Now, after getting out these three lines, we are going to go to the next step, which is our chest line. I'm going upward from my bust line with 2 inches to determine my chest line. Now, after doing that, we're going to go to our shoulder line to take our shoulder measurement divided by 2. Divide your shoulder by 2 and then you mark what you have there and come down with 1 inch for your shoulder slope. We're going to connect from that shoulder slope down to the same shoulder measurement divided by 2 on your chest line. So that will give us this armhole line that we have there. We'll come back there to take our armhole later. But first, let us take our neckline. I'm using 3.3 for my neckline. If you've been following us, you know why I use 3.3. I divided my bust measurements by 16 and I added 1 inch. That gave me my neck width. Now that we're done taking the neck width measurements, we're going to come down to take the darts, our bust darts on these lines. My bust span measurement is 8 inches. So I'll divide 8 inches by 2 and I'll mark that on these lines, which is my bust line, my under bust and waistline. I'll also extend that dart with 6 inches for now, and I'll connect these darts with a straight ruler. Now we're going to tighten our under bust. I'm using 2 inches to tighten my under bust. I'll take 1 inch on my left and 1 inch on my right. Then I'll connect the dart downwards to meet the 6 inches dart extension and upwards to meet my bust line. That is 1 inch before the bust point, the bust line. Now the bust dart is out. We're going to be cutting off this part. After doing this, the next is to take our side bust dart. The side bust dart is the difference between your front waist measurement and your back waist measurement. So my front waist measurement is 17 inches like I mentioned before, and my back waist measurement is 15.5. So I'm going to be removing that 1.5 from my bust. Now I'm going to come down with 1.5 on my bust line and mark a point there, and also come out with 1 inch from the bust point because we don't want it to get to the bust point exactly. Now we know that we're going to be cutting out this side bust that we have here. So we're going to go ahead now, take our measurements on these lines. The bust measurement divided by 4 on your bust line, your waist measurement divided by 4 on your waistline, and then you connect these two together using your straight ruler. So when you take your waist measurement, remember to replace that dart that you took out for the waist dart. Whatever you have there, put it back, then connect it with your straight ruler to meet your bust line. Now that we're done with the sides, let's come down to the waistline of this dress and work on that waist part. So looking at the picture we have on our screen that we are working with, I am going to come down with 3.5 inches from my waist downwards. This is because these gathers did not start exactly from your waist. So you're going to measure wherever you want your gathers to start from. So as you can see, the front came down lower than the side. So I came down with 3.5 on my side and came down with 6 inches on my center front. And then I'll use my curve ruler to connect it to give it this shape we have on this dress. Another thing to note, this point where we came down with 3.5 on the side, you're going to measure what you have on that point on your body. Measure what you have there, because if you use your waist measurement, it's possible that it will be tight at the end of the day. The gathers is starting after your waist, close to the hip. So you're going to measure what you have, mark it there, and then connect it to your waistline. I also extended my dart downwards so that I'll have my center front and side front. Like I mentioned earlier, ignore this zipper allowance. We're going to go up now to work on our armhole and the neckline. To work on our armhole for our basic bodies, I guess we already know how to do this. Divide what you have on this line by 2, come inwards with 0.5 on the midpoint, then take your bust measurements on that chest line, then connect it with your armhole curve from the bust measurement to the 0.5 up to the shoulder slope. Then you also go ahead and connect your bust line to meet your armhole line. With that, we have our armhole out. Now for the neck, we already took our 3.3 neck width, right? Now the dress we're working on is a V-neck, so we're going to come down to your desired point where you want the V to stop. If you want it to be on your chest line, it's totally fine. If you want it to come down to the bust line, this depends on how revealing you want the V to be. For me, I'm coming down with 1 inch on my bust line because I want it to be a little below my bust line. So I'll come down with 1 inch from my bust line and connect it from my neck width down to that point. With this, we have our V-neck out. Mind you, we're going to be snatching this V because we don't want it to be gaping at the end of the day. So I'm going to divide what I have on this line by 3 and mark those points. So after dividing it by 3, the 2 points at which I marked, I'm going to take a dart on that point so that I'll use that dart to snatch my chest. So I'll connect the 2 darts to meet my bust line, as you see me doing on your screen. Connect it to meet your bust line, and then take your 0.5 inch dart. You're going to share 0.5 on both sides. This dart might look very tiny, but it's also very important. It makes your chest line very relaxed and firm. So I'm taking 0.5 inch, like 0.25 on both sides, and then I'll connect it with my straight roller. When I'm cutting out, I'm going to cut out that part and realign this V-neck so that it will come out equal. So I'm going to go ahead and cut now. Watch closely and see how I'm cutting. I've gone ahead to cut out these darts that I have on the chest line. After cutting it, you're going to fold it in and use your paper tape to tape it down. And after cutting, you're going to realize that your the line we have on our V-neck does not align anymore. This is because of these darts that we are taking out. So after taping it down, you're going to use your ruler to connect your line to make it even before you go ahead and cut. So now, as you can see, I've aligned my neckline and I've gone ahead to cut it out. The next part we're going to be working on is the bust part of this dress. If you notice, this dress has a joining on the underbust part. From the shoulder to the underbust is joined to the waist part. So we're going to come down with 1.5 from your underbust, because if you notice, this dress is slanted from the center front on the bust point down towards the underbust part on the armhole, right? So now from the end of our V, we're going to be making a slant with our slightly curved roller down to that 1.5 that we came down with from the underbust. You can use 1 inch, you can use 1.5, you can use 2 inches, depends on where you want the slant to be. This is not standard, so you're going to work with what you want on this bust part. So this is the upper part that will be joined to the down part of this dress. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut out all our darts before I'll do the slash and spread on the upper part so that we can get the pleats that we have on this upper part. So I'm just going to go ahead and speed it up now, close my side bust darts, close all of the darts that we have, and cut out. Now this is what we have for our front. Remember, I'm yet to cut off this my zipper allowance. I'll still cut it off. Now after joining all our darts, you can notice some parts are no longer equal. I'm just going to introduce this paper now and align my pattern so that it will be equal on paper before I go ahead and cut on fabric. So I just introduced a fresh pattern paper, place this my pattern on top and use my ruler to connect it, and then I'll pin it down, then cut off on this my new line so that it will be even on that part that I'll be joining to the upper part. And as for the upper part, we're going to do the same thing, making sure it also aligns on that upper part. So after cutting off the darts that we have on the upper parts, I'm also going to go ahead and trace it to make sure it aligns before we go ahead and do the slash and spread we have on this upper part. Now this is what we have. I'm trying to use my paper tape to tape it down to see how it's going to look on fabric before I cut. Now it's equal on the upper part and on the down part. The next thing I'm going to do is to introduce my pattern paper that I'll use to open it up. Now this opening depends on how wide you want it to be. If you want your gathers to be plenty on the shoulder, this is the point you do it. So because if you look at your screen, I have two pictures there. The upper one has more gathers than the down one, so this is totally optional. If you want to do the one that has enough gathers like the upper one, you're going to open up your pattern with around 2 inches or 1.5. But if you want it not to have excess gathers there, you're going to just open it up with 1 inch and cut out. So this new pattern paper that you just cut out will give you the gathers effect we have there that we're going to be pleating on top of these down parts. So like I mentioned before, I'm going to be cutting off this zipper allowance because I don't need it for this front. I thought I was going to use this same paper for the back before I changed my mind. Now we have our front piece out. We're going to go ahead now and draft our back piece. Remember to subscribe if you haven't done that. Thank you for watching to this point. Now let's get started with the back. After taking our shoulder and our zipper allowance on our new pattern paper, we're going to go ahead and take our bust points, which is 10 inches, our half length, which is 15.5. We don't need our under bust for this back. We just need 3 lines here. Your waistline, which is half length, your bust line, and then the chest line. Remember, we went up with 2 inches to get our chest line. So after getting out these 3, I'm going to also divide my shoulder measurement by 2, mark it on my shoulder line, come down with 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and then take the same thing I have on my shoulder on my chest line so that I can connect a straight line upwards to my shoulder slope for my armhole line. So now we have our chest line, bust line, and waistline. So I'm also going to take my neck width measurement, the same thing we took for front, 3.3 on this back part, and then I'll slant it to meet my shoulder slope. After doing this, we're going to also take the round neck measurement because the front is V but the back is round. So this depends on if you also want to give your back a V neck, it's fine. But for me, I came down with 1 inch to get my normal regular round back neck. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take my bust span measurement on this back piece, which is my nipple to nipple divided by 4. I took that on my bust line, that's 1 inch under my bust line, and my waistline, and the 6 inches that extension we took for front as well. On this line, I'm going to take my waist dart. We don't have bust dart here, we only have waist dart. I'm using 2 inches here, which is 1 on my left, 1 on my right, and I'll connect it together to give you what you have on your screen. So we're going to be cutting off this part. Back is very, very simple, guys. Another thing I'm doing on this back is to snatch my zipper. Aside having your back waistline shorter than your front waistline, you also need to come inwards with 0.5 on your waistline, and then use your straight ruler to connect it towards your neck and towards the length of your dress or top or whatever you're drafting. So that will help you remove any form of gaping on your zipper. So now I'm taking my bust measurements on my bust line, my waist measurements on my waistline. Like I mentioned before, remember to replace the dart you have on your waist line after taking your waist measurements, and then you go ahead and connect from the waist to your armhole line, which is the bust measurement we took on our chest line. So like we did for front, divide your armhole line by 2, connect it to meet the bust measurement you have on your chest line. For the back, we're not going inwards with 0.5. Now, to get this waist extension we did for front, I'm introducing my front pattern paper so that it will be equal. Remember, we used 6 inches for the center front and 3.5 inches for the side front. So you can also just take that or use your pattern paper to get the measurement. So after taking that now, I'm going to go ahead and use my curve ruler to make the connection I have there so that my back curve and the front curve will be equal. Like I mentioned, you can use your front pattern to trace this out, or take the same measurement you took for front to get this part out. And with this, our back piece is ready, guys. Very, very easy and straight to the point. Thank you so much for watching to this point. Remember to click the like button. Remember to share this video to others as well, because it will be useful to others out there. And subscribe to this channel for your weekly tutorials. Now we have our center back and side back. After introducing my front pattern to be sure my shoulder is equal, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out my back piece. After cutting out, this is what we have. You can decide to just hold a dart here and have one back piece, or you can decide to cut it out and have side back and center back. Also, as you can see, our front piece and our back piece is equal on the side, from the armhole to the side length. It is equal because we've taken out our side bust dart. So with this, we've come to the end of the drafting of the upper part of this dress. In the sewing video, we'll get to see how we added the gathers on the down part. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in our next tutorial.